Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet home Chicago. 2 is 4, 4 4 6. Come on, baby, now get your business fixed. Come on, honey, don't you?
I may be Marty Levinson, and I may be Rabbi Doug, but either way, you're watching the Northtown News Magazine show.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine. Your host, Avi Meyers, and the greatest cameraman of all, Sonny Hersh.
Hi, Avi Meyers here, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hersh and myself. Hi, Marty. Thank you so much. Obviously, I didn't get there today, but want to say hi to Marty Levinson. Anyway, it is our pleasure to bring you the commander of the 24th District, not just a veteran of the neighborhood in terms of police work, but somebody who actually spent much of his life, living and growing up here. And we're talking about Commander Bruce Rottner. Commander Rottner, how are you?
Great. How are you, Avi?
Really good, thank you. And thank you so much for being here today.
I always enjoy being here, Avi.
And we've got we've got National Night Out coming, which is one of the few times that people actually can start participating.
Right. National Night Out is something that really started back in the 80s and, has gone on and grown nationwide, not just here in the city, but all over the nation. But with our 9 beats, we get all of our 9 beats involved. We do things a little bit differently than some of the other police districts. Some of them have one large event, which is fine for them. But we have 9 different events, so it keeps us pretty busy. But all 9 beats feel strongly enough about their own neighborhoods in our district, and they want to sort of showcase what they've been doing. So it's a great night. It's a lot of fun.
Now, National Night Out traditionally, that's this Tuesday, guys. It's the first Tuesday in August.
That's correct, first Tuesday in August.
So, we're talking about this Tuesday. So, first of all, if you're in the 24th District, which basically consists of West Rogers Park and Rogers Park, you can call Neighborhood Relations at 312-744-6321 to find out what your particular area is involved in.
Right. It's kind of interesting because when National Night started many years ago, basically it was strictly having people coming out onto their front porches and turning their lights on. And it was a symbolic community effort against crime. Since that time, it's expanded into different events. 24/11, for example. We'll have an event over at McDonald's on Western Avenue. We're doing several street roll calls, one up on beat 2422 on the east end of the district, one on beat 33, I should say, in conjunction with the 20th district on Thorndale and Winthrop. So every beat does something a little differently, and and we still have people that come out on their front porches and turn their lights on, and that's fine too, So again, it's something where everybody can get involved, and that's what we like.
And as a matter of fact, well, you mentioned 24/11 because many years, Sonny, well, the guy behind the camera, Sonny Hersh, of course, is the chairman of the District Advisory Committee.
Correct.
And he's got beat 2413, Devon to Peterson, Kedzie to Ridge. I am the civilian chair for beat facilitator, I got to remember the right word, for Devon to Pratt and Kedzie to Ridge. And hi, Sergeant Rellinger, who's been really nice to work with the last few months. And for those of you who are fans of Lieutenant Kalani, who was very camera shy, he is Lieutenant Kalani now, and he's doing quite well, not too far from White Sox Park.
Right, exactly. He finally got parking at White Sox Park. So.
I did want to mention that we're actually going to do something for what usually Sonny and I just chip in because 24/11 has a much bigger structure, always has.
Right, 24/11 is the largest beat in the district. You can actually take some beats from other districts and put 2 or 3 inside 24/11. But they have a wonderful knack for organization and for including everybody from the beat in their meetings. As you're aware, they alternate between the Jewish Community Center on Toohey and St. Margaret Mary's over on Chase there every month. So it includes everybody. And Kaz Katowski, who's retiring from his position as beat facilitator, has just done a wonderful job over the years organizing events for 24/11, keeping all the neighbors in the loop on crime conditions, and we're going to miss Kaz in that capacity, although I have a feeling that he'll still have his finger in the pot somehow.
I'm sure he will. Kaz is a really, really good guy. And
great guy.
He's a retired professor of justice and criminology.
Correct.
Over at Truman College. And the Senator Katowski now, who's in Des Plaines, is his son Dan.
Okay, yeah. But Kaz and I go way back, and Kaz was really one of the early leaders in community policing up here. Again, I'm glad he's just retiring from this aspect, but I'm sure his grandchildren will keep him very busy.
I'm sure he was. He lives, in fact, he lives so close, but he's in a different beat. He's just
exactly.
Less than a city block away in terms of actual distance. Anyway, I always look forward to seeing him. And not to mention, his whole family. His wife, Jinx, is the secretary to Dick Devine.
That's what I understand,
who's
right.
Also a neighbor. And when I've had to deal with Dick Devine, she has been very helpful also in my dealing with
like I say, like the vast majority of people here, they're great people. They like to get involved. They put their money where their mouth is, and that's what we like.
Yeah. So on National Night Out, we're actually going to be doing something ourselves this time, which is sort of like a first for us, because usually it's like, well, tag along with Chaos. My experience has been anytime I ask somebody even to pass out, like flyers for the next meeting, I never see them again.
Sure.
So, sure. I want to keep my people.
Sure, absolutely.
But we had a problem recently. Now, for those of you who watch, you know that I'm right near Boone School, around the corner, and on the 65, 66, and 6700 blocks of Washtenaw, there's been a slightly rougher element which does surface some summers. And we had a very large attendance at our June CAPS meeting, neighbors from that specific area, also a little bit on Tallman, a little bit on Fairfield, to object to what was happening. And the police noted it appropriately, and you've taken action on the subject.
Well, the good part, probably the best part about community policing is the people who live in a neighborhood can come and actually sit down with the officers who deliver the services, who actually are out there doing the work. It's all well and good to come to my office and talk about a problem, but very frankly, I'm not going to be out there at 7 or 8 o'clock at night patrolling this neighborhood, or 3 in the morning. There are sometimes I am out there, but it's the actual beat officer who's out there, and that's the thing about CAPS. People get to sit face-to-face with those officers, tell them what their problems are, and together, and that's the key, work on solutions. One solution that we feel is effective is something we started about a year ago, May, and we call it the Mobile Foot Mission Team. And what we did is we put 4 officers in 2 cars, and their task is to deliver foot patrol to both hotspot areas and areas where quality of life issues are a problem. What was described by members of your beat team was really a quality of life issue. We're not talking about robberies, we're not talking about criminal sexual assaults or murders, but we're talking about quality of life, where parents are reluctant to send their children to the playground because, as you described, a rougher element has moved in there. And what we're doing is we're directing members of our Mobile Foot Mission Team just to deliver foot patrol in that area there. Are they the total solution to the problem? Absolutely not, but they're part of the solution. And it not only takes the police, but then it takes parents getting out there as well when their children are playing and watching their children. I mean, parents have to have responsibility for their kids. We can't be their mothers and their fathers. And as the mayor often says, we're the parents, and I believe in that. But the Mobile Foot Mission Team is one way of addressing this. One of the first questions I always ask people when they ask me about this is, when was the last time you saw a policeman just walking down your street? And very rarely do you see police officers just walking down residential streets anymore. Without getting too involved in history, when we got into cars back in the early 60s, we kind of lost that personal touch with people that we had back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s when everybody walked. We went to a mobile strategy because crime became mobile. But people still miss that personal touch. Community policing has brought a lot of that back, and I feel that this strategy will also bring a lot of that back, where officers will just be walking down residential streets, to see. The first reaction they normally get is, what's wrong, when they see my police officers out there. And when the police officers say, nothing, we're just walking down your street, it's very well received. So I think this is the problem over at the Boone School is something that's tailor-made for this type of strategy.
I think it's wonderful. I've been a big walker myself the last year and change. I've lost, besides for losing over 30 pounds since I started the walking. Well, thank you. And, it's really been good. I keep running into Officer Ed McGuire, who was one of my favorite people.
Our Devon Avenue foot officer, right.
Right, and by the way, he also comes down the side streets a little bit. I caught him on Mozart because he saw a potential problem there.
Right.
And we're hoping, as a matter of fact, Lieutenant Holman, who as we speak is on his way to Alaska right now.
That's correct.
And anyway, great seafood, no question. This Copper River salmon season was wonderful. I love that stuff. So anyway, he's, I'm hoping on next time around, when we do some stuff, I want to get Officer McGuire and I don't remember.
Lil Badia is our day foot officer. Ed's the afternoon foot officer, and Lillian Badia is our day foot officer. And they're both good veteran officers. They love being out there. They make a lot of arrests. They identify a lot of problems for us. A good foot officer is really worth his or her weight in gold out there.
No question. As a matter of fact, by the way, Officer McGuire also asked me to go with him, because he's fairly new to some of it, to go with him to all the different Jewish merchants and businessmen, and I'm happy to do that with him to make sure that...
Again, he's a kid that always wants to learn, always wants to get involved. Actually, when Ed McGuire was working 2412, which is your beat, a couple of years ago, he's really the person who single-handedly almost disabled or dismembered the Assyrian King gang over there, just by his knowledge of them and feeding information to our detectives on various crimes they had committed. And he really helped dismantle that group over there.
No, he's terrific. We've got a lot of really good officers around here.
We have a lot of great officers around here. Thank you.
And thank you, because it makes a difference. It really does.
Well, that's our goal, is to make a difference, and I think our people do that every day.
I agree, and it's one of the reasons people should be coming to our CAPS meetings. And by the way, I haven't been plugging the website, but we've been flashing it on the screen. CAPS24.org that Sonny Hersh, our entire technical crew, runs. You can find out all the beat meetings in the 24th District, find out all the different activities for National Night Out, which you can also find out by calling 312-744-6321, the 24th District Neighborhood Relations Office, or if you live outside of Rogers Park in West Rogers Park, call 311 and get the location of the CAPS meeting in your particular neighborhood. Now, we're actually going to do something this year. We're going to, Sergeant Mellinger also is just back from furlough, but we're going to try to work on a strategy which we'll announce at our next CAPS meeting, where we're going to be, because we want to be outside in that area where the civilian foot patrol is on National Night Out.
Yeah, right. I give all my beat team leaders, like Sergeant Rellinger, the freedom to do what they think is right for their beat. It's like we tell them, you're the superintendent of your beat. And, in the old days, everything came from downtown. You had to do what they say. And today, Superintendent Klein has given us the flexibility to manage our districts in the way we see fit. And, as continuation of that, I give my beat team leaders, who are all sergeants, the flexibility to manage their beats in the way they see fit. So, if Sean Rellinger decides to implement the strategy you just mentioned, that's fine with me, because he's the person out there actually directing the officers.
Yeah, actually, I've been very fortunate, because the two previous beat sergeants I had were Lieutenant Holman, who's head of CAPS here, and Lieutenant Rob Kalani, another great guy.
Well, maybe that bodes well for Sergeant Rellinger. Maybe it'll be Lieutenant Rellinger someday.
Well, could be. He doesn't. He told me he's actually he's more worried about raising his kids now.
Yeah, but, he's a good family man.
The interesting thing about him is it's interesting to learn the different approaches these people take, because unlike what he does, which I've never seen a sergeant do at the meetings, is he's not as personable as either Lieutenant Kalani or Lieutenant Holman, who both have terrific personalities, but he's very... He really keeps track of everything at the meeting, and at the end of the meeting, and I've never seen this, He goes through everything that was said, everything that was proposed, talks about what he's going to do for the next meeting, how he's going to approach things, or what solutions he's going to come back with, or what problems and all the rest of it. And he's very, very organized and to the point.
One of the key components of community policing is listening to concerns, listening to problems, and then making sure we follow up on them, and then coming back and saying, this is what we did, or this is what we couldn't do. You know, people will understand that we are not the end-all solution to every problem. And it's like I tell my young officers, you're not going to be able to solve every problem. It's just impossible. So sometimes you just have to say, we couldn't do this because of this, this, and this. And people will understand that. It's when you try and pull the wool over people's eyes or make up stories or things that you get in trouble. You know, people are much smarter today than they were 30 or 40 years ago. They're much more savvy with the media exposure and so on and so forth. You know, all we tell our officers is be honest with people. You know, people will accept that. They will accept that there are problems that you couldn't solve because they're not in your realm, you know. But there's other city agencies, there's neighbors, there's community organizations to help us solve these problems.
Yeah, and these are all available. Now, National Night Out, that's, that's this Tuesday. You know, I know when the show's airing. That's this Tuesday. So whether it's Thursday in Chicago, Evanston, or Friday in Chicago, we're talking this Tuesday. If you West Rogers Park, 312-744-6321 for neighborhood relations to find out what's going on near you. Caps24.org will also tip you in and clue you in. And any other neighborhood news we should be discussing?
No, not. I mean, we're getting through the summer. Fortunately, our violent crime has been, fairly stable. We haven't had any upsurges or anything like that. We have the typical crimes that go with the summer, stolen bicycles, lawn furniture, that type of stuff, because it's nice out and people leave things out. You know, we ask people to be a little more careful out there. Today, a bike can cost $5,000, $6,000, you know. So, it's like anything else. You won't leave your house unlocked. Don't leave things like your bicycle unlocked, It takes the extra effort to bring it down to the basement or put it on your balcony or wherever you may put it. So we have those type of things that go, again, seasonally along with that. But the good news is, again, we haven't had any big spikes in violent crime. And I give it a knock on wood, our property crime is actually down. Our burglars have been down for the last couple of months. And again, a lot of it has to do with not only the aggressiveness of our officers, but people just getting used to calling 911 when they see things that are suspicious and tipping us off to these things so officers can respond and hopefully prevent these type of crimes.
Yeah, it's really important that all of you out there understand that how are the police going to know about something if you don't tell them?
Yeah, I mean, one of the most frustrating things that we always find is people will call the police and will say, I see this, and this, and they don't want to give their name, which is fine, and that's their right. We don't ask them for their name unless they want to give it. But then the police officers show up, and they don't see this, and this. And we're standing there, and we don't see what the person saw, and then the police wind up leaving, and the person feels a little frustrated because the police didn't see what he or she saw. But on the other side of the coin, sometimes it's tough to translate what they're telling a dispatcher and telling us. So that's why we urge people, when they do call the police and they do actually see something, a suspicious person, or they see someone hiding drugs under a car tire or something like that, meet the police out there. Or at least stay in line with the dispatcher while the officers are there, and you can actually direct the officers. Okay, if they go back 2 cars, it's over there or something like that. Because as frustrating as it is for them, it's also very frustrating for us when we know the person actually saw something, but he or she isn't there to tell us what they saw.
That's a really good point, and it's so important. And yeah, even if you don't want to go down and meet the police, if you can stay on the phone with the dispatcher, the dispatcher can be right there with the policeman.
That's correct, and it's just very important. And I've been in that situation hundreds and hundreds of times over my career, and as my officers are often in that. And again, sometimes it leads to the citizen feeling frustrating or giving the citizen a feeling that the police aren't doing anything about it. But oftentimes it's difficult. It's not as simple as it appears.
No, and it's very important. And I see the other end too, because the policemen so often they really want to do something and they're frustrated.
All my officers, and you ask most police officers why they came on the police department, and they'll all say the same thing. They came on to actually help people. Whether it's the benefits or wearing a star or whatever. Ultimately, they all came on to help somebody, and they really do. And as I've said before on your shows, we're a training district. We get young police officers right out of the training academy here, and it really infuses a great energy into some of my older officers who get to work with them, get to train them. So we're in a really good situation in that sense, where we have a lot of young, aggressive, much better educated officers working today in this district. Some of my other fellow district commanders, don't have that going for them in their districts, but we're very fortunate to be the only district in our area that has brand new police officers, and I love them. Just bring them on,
I'm very happy with it too, and I want to thank all of you. Stay tuned for segment 2, National Night Out Tuesday. Don't forget, 312-744-6321 for 24th District, 311 out of the district. I want to thank very much my guest, Commander Bruce Rottner. Thank you so much, and thanks for all the good work.